Hey there, I'm Alan Furstenberg.
And I'm Mark Tucker. Welcome to Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs. Welcome back, Mark.
Thank you. It's nice to talk to you again.
It is always good to talk to you, Mark. There are some weeks that I'm just going into Thursday when we record these, and I'm like, I am beat. I don't know if I really want to do this tonight. Oh, we'll do it tonight. We'll figure out something to say and we'll talk, and who knows. And by the end of it, I am charged up and excited, and it's been a great conversation about voice or whatever else is going on. So it's always good to talk with you.
You know what? I've had times like that too. Since we record on Thursdays, sometimes I feel like my tank's a little low by the time the end of day Thursday hits. And this is just a nice reinvigoration. Um, I feel like I can just be myself. We're just good friends, and
Yeah,
it's fun to just be able to talk about whatever and feel like it's a safe place, and hopefully those that are listening feel like it's a safe place to listen and learn and just kind of see what else is going on in the voice world.
yeah. Just explore what else is out there. And this one tonight's really does come from see what else is out there. You kind of sent me a link a few weeks ago about something you had just discovered that
Yeah,
that seemed pretty interesting.
yeah. So we'll send a link, and it's not a very big article. It's like a 6-minute read, and it was actually published back in April of last year. But it came across my Twitter feed again, and I just happened to notice it this time and take a look at it. So we've kind of talked a little bit about like wave files or voice. There's a few weeks back we talked about different things and relating to voice, and this article talks about um, converting speech to text.
Okay.
And there's lots of different providers out there. Amazon has their transcribe, and Google
Google
has
has
their
their,
speech to
Microsoft
text.
has theirs.
Yeah, so there's lots of different providers have this ability to do that. But this is from a company called Picovoice, and not sure how much you know about Picovoice, but they've got a number of different offerings, and this is one of them. And what was interesting about this speech to text is the accuracy of it and how small, really kind of where it can live. You could use this on lots of different devices. It could be a Raspberry Pi. It could be, a web browser. It could be on the server side. It could be in
Hmm.
a Flutter app, and Android, iOS. There's lots of different places, lots of different languages, like coding languages that you can use to program against Picovoice. And it really only takes, the documentation says 20 megabytes of storage to embed this speech to text. So what that allows you to do is that you could send basically an audio file. They would be like short audio files. Let's use it in the context of voice, like maybe you speaking into a microphone in your web browser and having it record what you said. You could send that into this library and get back the text, that the transcription that goes along with what you said.
And at 20 meg, that's really powerful. That's, you can embed that onto a Raspberry Pi device
Yeah,
really pretty easily. So this lets you create um a voice assistant that can do it sounds from what they were saying, a very good it's a very good model, and you can do it completely locally. So this is the sort of thing that, Google advertises for their Pixel phones and reserved for their Pixel phones because they
yeah.
have custom hardware for it. So this is really an impressive accomplishment. And as the name kind of suggests, Picovoice is all about creating these small, compact models for embedded like devices.
Right. So this particular speech to text engine is called Leopard. And we'll send a link to the article, but you could also go to Picovoice's website and kind of look up Leopard and see what there is. There's lots of different libraries. Leopard's only one of them, and I think in the future we probably should talk about some of the other ones. But what this example that we're going to send to you is he was talking about using this Leopard engine with a AWS Lambda function. You know, a Lambda function is serverless, so you could send some piece of audio up through HTTP to which would trigger this Lambda function, which would then call Leopard to change that text into speech. And it was comparing what the cost of that type of system would be to Amazon's Transcribe itself or Google's speech to text, like how much cheaper it would be to use Picovoice in that case, just using more of a serverless model than what you could get with Transcribe. And the only caveat is that it really is for just smaller chunks. I know Amazon Transcribe, you can do like whole documents and things like that. There's lots that you can do. But if what you want with voice is just small chunks, like little notes or kind of as the beginning to some sort of a conversational speech to text thing, then this would be a perfect tool for that.
Still, it's an interesting and clever application. Just because it's a small model doesn't mean it needs to be embedded. It means you could put it on a relatively low powered Lambda instance. If it's not being called constantly, you're getting the benefits of serverless. You've got a little bit of a spin up time, but again, it's a small library, so you don't have a big spin up time.
Yep.
Lot of potential advantages there. Why don't you talk us through a little bit about what more they were talking about and how that it works? And I think I've got one other thought, but it's still we'll take it up after you talk about it a little bit more.
Okay. So the article, like I say, is like a 6-minute read, and it references a GitHub repository, and I'm just parsing through the Python code because I am not a Python developer. But the example is in Python. It's relatively short. It's 45 lines of code.
Wow.
But basically, Lambda itself has a handler, an event that comes in. The thing that's fronting this is API gateway. So it's basically just uploading base64 encoded audio to a REST endpoint. So you're posting that base64 audio as the body of your post request. API gateway gets that, sends that off to the Lambda function. Looks like it does a base64 decoding of that. It's got to figure out some multi-part parsing stuff for the audio. And then it looks like it writes it to a temp file. So it takes the base64 audio, writes it to a temp file, and then takes that path, and that file path is what you pass to Leopard. And then when the thing that you get back is an object which has the transcription.
Very cool.
That's it. Well, you got to close your file, but other than that, that's it.
It really does all seem really pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing where I can see a chunk of useful applications for it. And this was putting it in, for example, in Lambda. I could see, if you need to do this in a HIPAA compliant environment, and you need full control over that HIPAA environment, okay, you now have a HIPAA compliant server where you run this on.
Yep.
So that could be pretty cool. The kind of catch for it that I guess I get is you need to send it an audio file.
Yeah.
So, a couple of weeks back when we talked about Dialogflow, one of the features we talked about was streaming audio to Dialogflow, and it could detect end of utterance. It could do no input detections. It sounds like we can't do that here.
Yeah, I'd have to look a little bit more at the other offerings, but at least the basic, the simple example that they give is really just the one line, process this file. So it seems like that's what this is targeted to. would be those short audio clips, not as streaming where you could then like get back the transcription as you're speaking it and having it change and modify as it figures out what you're saying. It doesn't seem like that's what that's being used for. There might be something else there, but yeah, this does seem like it's a at least in this example, it's just a straight up audio file. But it's kind of fun, like because on the web page itself, there is an ability to upload a file or to do recording audio right there on the web page, and you know behind the scenes, you know that it's using Leopard.
Very, very cool. You know, I'm really curious. You know, one of the things I think we need to do is as you said, we need to go in and look at what some of the other offerings from Picovoice are, because this is the sort of thing where if you're building your own assistant, you want to have lots of these smaller pieces that you need to put together. You know, so you're going to need to do speech to text. You may need to do either sentiment analysis or NLU or both. We're going to need a text-to-speech component. And if Picovoice is offering some of these, and you can embed them into a device or a browser or, you know, whatever.
Your mobile app or whatever,
Right. You know, that saves, you know, that kind of changes how you're able to do some things. You know,
so
these are components that you can now take and start plugging together in ways that make sense for you.
We'll kind of give a sneak peek of as far as what these other things. We're not going to talk about them today, but so the first one on the list is Leopard, which is speech to text. They have something that they call Rhino, which is speech to intent. So it skips the transcription entirely and just gives you back intents and entities. If you want to do wake word, Porcupine is their wake word engine.
Okay, so that's incredibly useful. Even so even if you are doing your speech to text or whatever processing somewhere else, you still need the wake word feature. So they've got a library for that. That's good.
Yeah, and I think you can like use it out of the box and say, "Hey, Porcupine" or something like that, and it just uses it. And then that so you can play around with it and get things all working. And then I'm not sure what the cost is, but comparatively to other wake word engines, it's actually pretty reasonably priced for the same functionality. Then there's something called Octopus, which is speech to index. And what they're talking about is that's using like search, and it's not. Here, let's see what they say on the description. Find spoken words within audio files. So it's not. So you've got an audio file that's not even transcribed, and you speak, and it's finding. I don't know, with like the off this speech pattern or something, and it's finding that in the audio file. So it's kind of like searching an audio file without having to index the audio file. Maybe that's interesting.
That's interesting. Really seen
anyplace else, yeah. And then the final offering is Cobra, which is voice activity detection. So detect the presence of a human voice in audio streams. So you know you could cue at different things when you hear a voice or you know.
Well, and again, this is where you have end of utterance detection and no input detection. That's the sort of thing that offers.
Yep.
All very interesting stuff.
Yeah. So Picovoice is definitely an interesting company to check into, and it seems like they've got lots of different examples across multiple different programming languages. So something that you could play around with in an afternoon and you know do some interesting things with.
Yeah, I mean, you know, for Leopard, they were giving you 15 or so different examples, you know, embedded in Flutter, embedded in Android, in iOS, in the web, in Node.js, in Java, in Python, and you know,
in Rust and Go.
You know, tons and tons of examples, and they're all just a few lines long in some cases.
Yeah.
So, all very cool stuff.
So, so I encourage everybody to take a look and play around with the different offerings of Picovoice, and let us know when you do something. We'd be really interested in knowing kind of how you've played around with it, what you've learned, and what you're thinking you might be able to do with it.
Yep. So, share with us in the comments below, Twitter, LinkedIn, find us, wherever we happen to be, because, we're pretty easy to find. And let us know how you're doing it and what your experiences have been.
And we will catch you on another episode of Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs. Have a great weekend, Mark.
You too. Take care.
Take care.